With Walmart's new fresh and frozen subscriptions, you can save time on your weekly grocery shopping.
Dad, you're supposed to be grocery shopping.
And miss the chance to embarrass you in front of your friends? I subscribe to snacks and wet napkins. You know how messy you are.
Dad!
Walmart. Subscribe to your weekly list.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
Did you know Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company? They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just quarterback Peyton Manning, I'm also meditating Manning. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
This episode is brought to you by ServiceNow, the AI platform for business transformation. AI is only as powerful as the platform it's built into. Enter ServiceNow. It puts AI to work for people, for employees, for developers, and even your customers, removing frustration and supercharging productivity. On our intelligent platform, AI isn't just a promise. It's happening today. That's why the world works with ServiceNow. To learn more, visit servicenow.com/AI for people.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well, at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it. Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? Going to do things a little bit differently this week. I'm going to combine my power rankings with my Rams Up Straight Up picks into one video or one pod, if that's where you're getting this content. And the reason for that is, well, there are some really interesting games coming up in week 7, much more interesting than last week, I think. Not a lot has changed in the power rankings. Pretty straightforward. Couple of minor changes, and that's about it. Let's get into that first, shall we? The first thing we have to talk about is the green room. Who is in the green room and who is no longer in the green room? And if we look at last week, we had the Saints, Seahawks, Steelers, Chargers, Cardinals, and Bucks in the green room. Dropping the Cardinals out, that was a really poor performance in Green Bay, just turning the ball over again and again. And the Bucks are no longer in this green room, and that's for a good reason. And the Cowboys are the new addition. So Cardinals falling out, the Cowboys dropping from the top 12 into the green room, and the Bucks out of the green room into the top 12. And this is the only place you're going to find the changes. Changes in my top 12 is at the very bottom here. Still have the Falcons at number 12. Pulled away late against the Panthers there to get a win. And then there's the Bucks, who had a big win against the shorthanded Saints. So the Bucks actually leapfrogged the Falcons. Now, I know the Falcons won that game between the two teams. That was a super tight game in Atlanta. And you could argue that the Falcons should not have won that game, but I'm putting the Bucks above the Falcons. Everything else is pretty well. Everything else is exactly the same. You have the Eagles at 10, Packers at 9, 49ers at 8, Commanders at 7, and so on. You see all the rankings there. Vikings remaining my number 1 team. So 1 through 10. No changes. Vikings, Ravens, Chiefs, Texans, Lions, Bills, Commanders, 49ers, Packers, and Eagles. Now, the two spots that a lot of people might be questioning is, should the 49ers have jumped up more? And, I was tempted to move them above the Commanders. The fact that the Commanders lost against my number 2 team and it was a close game, while the 49ers more or less had their way with the Seahawks. But let's not fall into that recency bias thing here. The 49ers are still only 3-3, and they've been banged up. They're going to start getting, hopefully they'll get CMC back here pretty quickly. And until he gets back, not going to elevate them much higher. If they go on a 3 or 4 game win streak without him, yeah, okay. I'm sure they'll find themselves back in the top 4 or 5. But for now, I left them at 8. And yeah, I could go either way on that. Maybe the 49ers above the Commanders. And the other thing is the Lions are really impressed with that win against the Cowboys. I'm interested to see how much the loss of Aiden Hutchinson is going to affect them. Could they possibly trade for Hassan Reddick to help them out? I don't know if he's the same type of player. If he'd be a good fit for that defense. I'll let Paul and I'll pose that question to Paul and Ian maybe during our Wednesday night roundtable, have an answer for you. But at this moment, kind of leaving it as it is, no changes in the top 10, a little bit of shuffling in the green room, and the Bucks leapfrogging into the top 12, leapfrogging over the Falcons into the number 11 spot. So let's get into our Rams Up Straight Up picks, and this is a dicey week. Last week, you heard the news. It's all over the internet, right? I went 14-0, and as impressive as I'd like to call that impressive, but this is probably the one week you kind of got a shot at going 14-0. There weren't a lot of games that were really that difficult to pick for me. Now, our buddy Pete went 12-2, to give you an idea of, I think across the board, most game pickers, that's what we're calling ourselves. I don't want to use the word expert. Not an expert here. I think most game pickers did pretty well in week 6, though. So let's roll into my Rams Up Straight Up picks for week 7. First game up, Broncos at the Saints. Broncos favored by 2, and that's mostly due to the situation at quarterback for the Saints. Apparently going to be Spencer Rattler again. Man, Saints look so good coming out of the gate. 2 straight wins. It's kind of fallen apart. Lots of injuries. Broncos, not a lot to get excited about there either. Bo Nix versus Spencer Rattler. Broncos lead the series 9-3. Broncos have won 4 of the last 5 played in New Orleans. I'm going to take the Broncos to win on the road here. That's the Thursday night game. Patriots at the Jaguars in London. Jags favored by 5.5. Seems like an awful lot to me. Trevor Lawrence versus Drake May. Man, there are so many young quarterbacks scattered across the league at this point. We've already talked about Spencer Rattler, Bo Nix, and now Drake May. Patriots lead the series 12-2. 5 of those 14 games have been in the playoffs, including 2 AFC championship games won by the Patriots. Patriots need Ramondre Stevenson back really bad. Jags defense has struggled, second worst in the league, allowing 390 yards per game. Patriots offense is the third worst by yards per game. Patriots defense, no great shakes either. The only unit of these 4 that is even approaching mediocrity is the Jags offense. And I am taking the Jags to win this game. I think it'll be extremely close. In London, home game for the Jags. I have a sneaky suspicion the crowd is going to favor the Patriots. Seahawks at the Falcons. Falcons favored by 2.5. The Seahawks made a trade this week, trading for the Jags interior defensive lineman Roy Robertson Harris. Seahawks defense has really struggled. Byron Murphy has been out. He's expected back. I was reading a Seahawk blog about this trade, wondering if that meant Murphy is maybe not coming back as soon as expected, or just maybe it's a dissatisfaction with some of the other interior guys. But regardless, Seahawks lead the series 12 wins, 9 losses. Seahawks have won 3 of the last 4 in Atlanta, the lone exception being that 2017 playoff game. Falcons ended the Seahawks season. I am taking the Falcons to win this, and it probably will be extremely close. This Falcons offense, though, starting to roll a little bit, and the Seahawks defense, as I have said, continues to struggle. Seems like they've struggled for years here. Bringing in the Ravens defensive coordinator as their head coach was hopefully a step in the right direction, but not really happening as quickly as the leadership there would like. I'm taking the Falcons. Again, probably a very close game.
With Walmart's new fresh and frozen subscriptions, you can save time on your weekly grocery shopping.
Dad, you're supposed to be grocery shopping.
And miss the chance to embarrass you in front of your friends? I subscribe to Snacks and Wet Napkins. You know how messy you are.
Dad.
Walmart. Subscribe to your weekly list.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
This episode is brought to you by PwC. When unprecedented times are all the time, it's time to start walking the talk. Leaders like you turn to PwC to see and stay ahead. Upskill your workforce, use intelligent automation, and transform big ideas into breakthrough reinvention. Explore the human-led, tech-powered solutions that help you reinvent. It's all part of the new equation. Learn more at pwc.com.
Listen in. Starbucks. It's a great day for coffee.
Titans at the Bills. Bills favored by 8.5. Titans by yards per game, the best in the league. 249 yards per game, pretty darn good. And the Bills, they just traded for Amari Cooper, by the way, adding to that receiving core for Josh Allen. The Bills are going to win this game. I think it'll be lower scoring and a little tighter than you think. This might be a game you want to take the Titans in the points, but yeah, I probably wouldn't do that either if I have to be honest. Bengals at the Browns, one of the least appealing games on the schedule. Bengals favored by 5.5. Man, there's just no juice on that offense at all. Pretty good defense. Bengals, now they're on one of their little winning streaks, and they'll probably win this one as well. Texans at the Packers, one of the more attractive games on the schedule, on the slate this week. Packers are favored by 3. Packers lead the series. They've only played 5 times. Packers have 4 wins. Jordan Love, those wide receivers are going to make a difference here. But don't sleep on this Texans defense. We all know about C.J. Stroud, his receivers, pretty good running game. But their passing game, their passing defense, giving up just 163 yards per game. So this is an interesting matchup. This Texans secondary versus these Packers wide receivers. And the Packers are one of the teams that I think are getting a little more love than they deserve. Texans, hey, they were my AFC Super Bowl pick, and probably going against the grain here. Sure, most folks are picking the Packers. I am taking the Texans. Texans win on the road in Green Bay. That's a tall order. I think they get it done. Dolphins at the Colts. Colts -3. And man, the Dolphins nation must be one of the saddest in the league. Man, riding high, all these weapons, their fun coach, flashy team, just so much fun to watch. And then they lose Tua, and it all kind of falls apart. And the Colts are just one of those teams that, they're always just pretty good. I'm not sure who's going to be the quarterback this week. Going to be Joe Flacco again. Not sure if Jonathan Taylor's going to be back either. I thought he'd be back next week. So a couple of uncertainties as I'm making these picks, but I will take the Colts to win it at home. Another prime attraction this week, the Lions at the Vikings. Vikings favored by 2.5. This is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Lions are going to put points up on the board. And I think the Vikings are going to take advantage of Aiden Hutchinson not being in there. I think the Vikings are the lesser team in this matchup. The Lions should win this game if we're at a neutral site or if we're in Detroit. But I'm going to roll with the Vikings. Lions coming off that big win in Dallas and then losing their star defender. That's a little much to overcome. This is probably the one game I feel least confident about. Could easily go with the Lions here. Vikings aren't going to go undefeated, but I think they're going to win this one. And maybe they're going to lose the following Thursday night. I don't know who they're playing. I have no idea, but hoping they lose Thursday night after they take care of the Lions. Eagles at the Giants. Eagles favored by 3. It's amazing how our view of the Eagles has changed over the last year. And, what has changed on their roster? Not a whole lot, really. I think the loss of their defensive coordinator started to show late last year. John Gannon going over to the Cardinals. And then this year they've added Saquon Barkley, and that looked like a really big addition. Barkley, man, he's going to be fired up for this game. But the Giants will be fired up to stop him. Going to be a feisty game, I have a feeling, but I will take the Eagles. Panthers at the Commanders. Panthers favored by 7.5. Easy one to pick. It's just a matter of, are they going to cover? I think they will. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders notch another win. Chiefs at the 49ers. 49ers favored by 1. Rightfully so. Basically a pick'em game. Give 1 point to the visiting team. A Super Bowl rematch. No Christian McCaffrey, though. Jordan Mason returned to practice. He got dinged up last week. He should be good to go. I don't know where to go with this game, really, but I'm going to go with my heart, which is really bad advice, but I'll take the Chiefs. Jets at the Steelers. Steelers 1.5 point underdogs. The Jets will be rolling with Davante Adams. Pittsburgh fans must be going, come on now, really? Not great timing for us. I think the Jets will win this one. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. 2 pretty darn good defenses. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson versus Justin Fields. I don't know. Yeah, I like the Jets' chances in this one. Ravens at the Bucks. Ravens favored by 3.5. Ravens come in with the top offense in the league, 454 yards per game. Bucks defense not too shabby either. The Ravens defense, as I've mentioned a couple of times over the past couple of weeks, they're not what they used to be. Basically a middle rung defense, and Tampa Bay's defense isn't that great either, really. So there's going to be some points scored in this one. Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield are going to both light it up, I think. I'm going to take the Ravens. Going to be a lot of points on the board, though. Chargers at the Cardinals. Cardinals 2.5 point underdogs at home. Real concerns about the Chargers offense moving forward. Under 300 yards per game. This is a game they could get it going a little bit. I'm expecting Marvin Harrison to be out. Cardinals, man, the Cardinals at times have looked really good, but overall kind of depressing. Thought they were going to be more advanced under this new regime than they are at this point. Chargers get the win. And then we have our Rams hosting the Raiders. Point spread started at 5.5. I think it's up to 7. And I don't think it has anything to do with the Davante Adams trade. I think it has to do with Cooper Kupp looking like he's going to play. And maybe a lot of sharps going in early on the Rams. I can only guess. But the point spread has been climbing, and I think the Rams are going to play a clean football game for the first time this year, perhaps, and get a solid win at home over the Raiders. That's it. That's my Week 7 Rams Up Straight Up picks for you. 14-0 last week. I doubt that's going to happen again. 15 games on the slate this week, so I guess it's impossible, but hopefully I'll get double-digit correct here and widen my lead over Pete Prisco over at CBS Sports. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.